big ball. Going for the big shot, and he hits it.
That's batted into the air, intercepted, and the Bears are going to win it.
It's nothing but the details making a big difference for players and coaches at Halas Hall. Caleb Williams finally addressed the whole ESPN, controversy with Seth Wickersham's book. There is a lot to break down. Welcome into the Halas Beat, brought to you by the Bear Report. I'm Usayd Koshul. He is Zack Pearson. You can follow us on Twitter at Usayd Koshul, at Zack_Pearson, and at Halas Beat. Nick is out for the next couple weeks here. He has some good news, I guess, but we'll delve into that stuff later. Zack, how you doing today? Thanks so much for hopping on here and doing this with me.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me on. I know it's your guys' show, so you guys do a good job. So hopefully I can live up to it. And yeah, doing good. Just kind of getting through the off season and ready for summer here.
Yeah, it is so interesting to me. And first off, big shout out to you too, because without you, the Bear Report, I don't think would be where it's at today. I mean, been awesome working with you for however many years we've been doing this now. But I think, dude, it's time to get into this thing. I mean, you've been at Halas Hall for OTAs. Every time we've heard Ben Johnson speak, every time we've heard these players speak, the one word I keep hearing in these pressers is details, details, details. Now, I'm going to be honest, all right? For me, I heard Matt Eberflus and Matt Nagy say the exact same word. Pretty sure John Fox kind of said it as well. But this time when I hear the word details, it just seems so different because to me, we are so used to hearing it, but I feel like right now we're seeing it on the field and in the front office in terms of what this team is doing and how they're operating.
Yeah, I think, it's more refreshing because, like, you're right. We've heard this kind of stuff before from coaching staffs. It's kind of just, quote unquote, general coach speak at times. But I think it's refreshing because it's a new staff. It's a new staff that a lot of people believe in. The Bears went out and got, the top head coach candidate this cycle. And from the start, you kind of felt like Ben Johnson, was winning press conferences. I don't put a lot of stock into that because, I think it's, press conferences you should win. I think you can lose a lot of press conferences early. And as things struggle, you do as well. But with Ben Johnson, you heard it from the start. He wants to build this thing from the ground up. He wants to evaluate everything. And that's kind of what they're doing, spending their time now here in OTAs. They've had about 6 practices in OTAs. They've had the 3 rookie minicamp practices as well. And it's install. It's details, details, details. And it's getting this thing right. And, what we've heard from Ben Johnson is the details, but also when we're out there, we're seeing that as well. 2 weeks ago, not 2 weeks ago, a week from yesterday, when we were there, we kind of saw him get on a couple players and yell at Cole Kmet, which was the one that kind of stood out to me. And then yesterday, on Wednesday when I was there, you could hear, Ben Johnson drop an F-bomb when the Bears offense, first team offense, was taking too long to get organized at the line of scrimmage, and then players were not in the right spot, and he, was frustrated visibly and made them redo it. So I think he wants to make sure all those details are ironed out because if you remember going back to last year in training camp, Matt Eberflus kept on saying the procedure is good. We think the procedure is really good. We think it needs to be where it's at. And I just remember sitting there and thinking, oh, it's not. If you look at these training camp practices, the offensive line is false starting, or they're not getting set up properly, and they have to go back and redo it. And that kind of bled into the regular season where we'd see so many pre-snap penalties or just mistakes, delay of games, false starts, illegal formations. And I just was wondering what the heck he saw. I think with Ben Johnson, he's seeing it and he's making sure that they get that fixed, because if you're setting yourself back 5 to 10 yards, before the snap even happens, those could be drive killers in the end.
And to the quote that I think he had yesterday regarding getting in and out of the huddle, it was so interesting because he basically talked about how, they broke the huddle. The way that they broke the huddle really sucked. I made them go back and do it again because if we allow it now, things are going to start going south. I mean, there are 2 things to keep in mind with that. So first off, that's a coach that is operating under the philosophy that yeah, certain things I'm not going to go and wait until after practice to watch the film and evaluate and then fix the next day. No, certain things I'm going to address right now. Something so simple as breaking the huddle, because as a coach, I mean, I'll be honest with you, it drives me insane when I see my guys breaking the huddle in a completely wrong way. So for someone that, is doing this stuff full time, I can't imagine how crazy it drives Ben Johnson. But the other big thing is this, is that the game moves so fast. Like, the speed of the game is so fast to the point where it's like you look down for 1 second and all of a sudden during a game on Sunday, Monday, or Thursday, what happens is the offense is already going ahead and ready to run another play. And so this to me is all about getting down the timing of the offense, not just, Caleb connecting with his receivers, but really the intricate details of making sure that you're getting in and out of the huddle in an efficient manner and in a way that is going to allow the offense to continue functioning, especially when the Bears actually get to the games that matter.
Yeah, I mean, it starts there. If you're not getting lined up properly, you're setting yourself back, and then a 1st and 10 becomes a 1st and 15 or a 1st and 20, and you're just behind the sticks, and that's where you kind of have to force some things. And I think that was kind of the problem last year. But with Ben Johnson and seeing this, it's obviously the smart thing to do. Get ahead of this, make them finish it. If it takes 3 to 4 reps to get that, so be it. I mean, you have to do it. So, he knows what he's doing. He's a smart offensive mind. He's coached, a couple different positions in the NFL. So he kind of knows where everything is and what needs to be done. And he's also got, guys with experience on that staff. He's also got guys that don't have a lot of experience, but are kind of working their way up as well. So it's a good mixture. But overall, you got to make sure that the offense, we got to remember one thing too, like, this is still a lot of install stuff. So what you see at OTAs, good or bad, I wouldn't put a ton of stock into it. If there's a bad day, I wouldn't, panic. If there's a good day, I wouldn't think, okay, like they're going to come out and go 17-0 or whatever. A lot of this is install. A lot of this is quote unquote vanilla stuff that we get to see. That stuff will start to ramp up. Obviously training camp is more of a good measuring stick for a team. And if this type of stuff, these details, like, look, there's going to be stuff in training camp for fall starts. And there's going to be, stuff in training camp where guys aren't getting lined up properly and Ben Johnson's going to get on them. That's going to happen. If it's consistently happening, though, in training camp, when we get into July and in August, that's a real issue. And that would tell me that there's something with the communication between the head coach, the offensive line, the quarterback, the offensive line, the head coach and the quarterback, things like that. I don't think that's going to be a problem. It kind of feels like, they're working out the wrinkles right now to make sure it's not a problem.
Yeah, it is definitely one of those situations to where, again, you try to temper your expectations knowing that anything and everything they're doing right now is basically this coaching staff trying to figure out what do we have on this roster in terms of what we feel like we're going to be able to run when July and August come around. I mean, it's very much a really experimental phase because this is a team right now that doesn't even really have that much of an identity. I mean, we know that they overhauled the offense this year. Obviously, the big additions include guys like Jonah Jackson, Joe Tooney, Luther Burden, I thought was a big addition as well. But the Bears are trying to figure out their identity right now. And part of that to me is all this competition that they just keep on creating. I mean, there's competition at left tackle, which is the spot the Bears can never get figured out. Ben Johnson mentions Darnell Wright's name, and it's like, well, is he the starter at right tackle? We're going to go ahead and see. We're trying to figure out how everything's working. And then obviously you've got the Colson Loveland factor, who, again, he isn't playing and practicing right now because of the shoulder injury. But once he gets ramped up, I think it's fair to expect him to go ahead and get some reps. And then there's the running back position to where, yes, DeAndre Swift's making $8 million a year. Roshan Johnson, a player that has been underutilized over the last couple of years. Monunga is a name that, for some reason, some fans are getting behind, some fans are not really getting behind. I mean, this whole competition thing to me, I think it's both good and dangerous.
Yeah, I would say I think it's good. I think you can never have too much competition out there. The one I'm really not worried about is running back. I think that's going to settle itself out. I think DeAndre Swift's going to be running back one, but we've seen Ben Johnson, use multiple backs at times. Do they have as strong of a 1-2 punch as Detroit has or had with Ben Johnson? No, they don't. We knew that, they wanted to go up and they wanted to get Travion Henderson in the draft before New England got him a pick ahead of them. So, yeah, I do think that running back will be settled. It'll be DeAndre Swift one, and then we'll see a kind of a combination of guys, Monangai, Roshan Johnson, Travis Homer's still there. So we'll see kind of a mixture of backs in that backfield. The most important one is obviously left tackle. You really got to figure that out. And, the Bears opted not to go left tackle right away, round one in the draft, which is fine. They drafted Ozzie Trapillo in the second round, a day 2 pick. You expect him to come in and play right away. He should have an impact this year. That's just kind of the bottom line. It's this reality of the NFL. With Braxton Jones out, it's been Ozzie and it's been Kieran Amagaji getting those reps. Last week it was Kieran getting the first team reps. On Wednesday it was all Trapillo getting the first team reps. And when they bring up Darnell Wright's name, it's funny because I don't even believe it was brought up by the media first at all. I think it was Ryan Poles in an answer or something said something about right tackle before the draft. In Darnell Wright, and it was probably asked right after as well for him to expand on a little bit. But it's 2 to 3 times we've heard between Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson about Darnell Wright at right tackle. And for the 2 open media sessions we've had so far at, OTAs, we haven't seen Darnell Wright anywhere else besides right tackle. So I don't think they're going to move him. I wouldn't move him. I'd personally keep him at right tackle. I think he's an anchor there. I think, the battle is going to come down to Trapillo against Braxton Jones. I wouldn't rule Kieran out right away. I just think when it comes down to the starter, it's going to be one of those 2 guys, Braxton or Trapillo. The issue now is, Braxton has an ankle injury and he's not out there. He's not practicing. He should be good. I guess the hope is for training camp, but it wouldn't shock me to kind of see him go, a little slower during training camp, which opens up the door for Kieran or Ozzie Trapillo to get that left tackle job. And they have to solidify that. Eventually, you have to find an anchor at left tackle. You have to find a franchise left tackle to protect Caleb Williams. And, another competition I'd keep an eye on is the linebacker 3 spot. Yesterday with TJ Edwards not out there, you saw Noah Sewell, you saw Ruben Hippolyte get reps alongside Tremaine Edmonds, which is important. We even saw them out there with the first team, both of them at a time, and they both kind of split the duties of Mike and Will, which was interesting to me. So, I like what Hippolyte has in terms of speed. I'm a little concerned in overall game. I've seen him go in on a blitz and get to the quarterback and force the quarterback to roll out. That's good. But that linebacker 3, and Amen Obengaba, I'm not going to pronounce that name correctly. I'm sorry. Is also in the running for that as well. And, Carl Lewis. So I don't think there's too much competition just yet. I don't think competition is always isn't never a bad thing. But there are battles on this offense and this defense that, we need to pay attention to as Ben, like you said, Ben Johnson and the coaches are trying to figure out what they have right now.
And I'm going to be honest. So just looking at some of these possible O-line combinations, the first one is you get Braxton Jones, Joe Thuney, Drew Dahlman, Jonah Jackson, and Darnell Wright as your starting 5. I think that if you start to really look at some of the combinations, another potential combination is those 4 plus Ozzie Trapillo starting at left tackle. Now, I also look at the entirety of the Bears roster, and I kind of say this, is that I do believe that Kieran is going to be, I'm not writing him off, but I think that there's a fair argument to be made that the Bears are probably going to end up giving Kieran Amagaji a majority of the reps at left guard and right guard during training camp. And again, part of me makes that argument because it's like the Bears have guys that can play tackle, right? again, the depth for this O-line, there's still some question marks that I have, but I kind of look at this thing and I'm like, what if a Joe Tooney goes down? Are you really going to rely on a Chris Glazer or a Bill Murray? What if Jordan McFadden, knock on wood, is not what you end up hoping he can be? I mean, where does Doug Kramer really fit with all of this stuff? And so it's kind of this like predicament in terms of, well, we really think that this is what we have and we're just going to keep experimenting, which I will say this too. Going back to the first thing we talked about, the details and how we've heard that from every other coaching staff that's kind of come and gone at Halas Hall. The details are clearly different. The competition that this regime is trying to, utilize is different as well. Because again, it's not, Braxton Jones versus undrafted free agent. It's now Braxton Jones and Amagaji, 5th and 3rd round pick versus 2nd round pick Ozzie Trapilo. Like that to me, there is the key difference in terms of how this coaching staff is just continuing to operate.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely combinations they're going to look at too. Like you said, I mean, do you feel comfortable with Bill Murray or Doug Kramer kind of coming in a key situation right away? That stuff will sort itself out. You'll see that we'll be paying attention to that left tackle spot, but you also have to pay attention to the second string. Who's playing at guards? Who's playing at what guard? Who's the backup center? Kind of things like that. So yeah, the offensive line will be the one to certainly watch moving forward. But I mean, we haven't even talked. There was one, in some interesting stuff yesterday where Ben Johnson, said, yeah, Case Keenum and Tyson Bagent are going to be battling for that backup spot. And that was interesting to me because they've been splitting reps essentially, rotating with the second team, both getting those looks. And then you have Austin Reed, who is kind of a guy that's just looking for a shot that, will play in the preseason a good amount, who's not really going to be a factor in the backup spot as of yet. But looking at, Case Keenum, a veteran who could come in and help Caleb Williams a lot and learn. And then you also have Tyson Bagent, who's come in and played in NFL games and won NFL games as a serviceable backup. So that's another one I'll keep an eye on as well. But yeah, the competition is definitely picking up, and we'll see. Next week there's 3 straight days of mandatory minicamp. A lot of these guys will be there, at least the non-injured ones. So yeah, it's going to be stuff to continually keep our eye on moving forward.
I have to ask you this because we are talking about the New Look Bears roster. I mean, you're the one guy that I know through 2 OTA sessions has kind of seen this New Look Bears defense. I mean, how's that front four looking like? Is Dayo Odeyingbo, I'm not going to say as advertised, but he's really as big as the measurables show. I know it's all shells at this point, but how is Montez Sweat? Because I know when Montez spoke yesterday, he kind of just, he didn't blow off some of the stuff that happened last year, but he's pretty much was just like, listen, guys, I'm not focused on that, and I'm focused on 2025.
Yeah, I mean, it is tough to tell. Like you said, they're in shells right now. They're going against the offensive line. You'll know more when the pads come on in training camp. That's just how it is. That's the reality of the offensive line, the defensive line, the trenches. In terms of, how they look, Diode, yeah, he's a big human being. Gervon Dexter is massive. I always note that out there. And when you look at, Andrew Billings was back. That was a big plus yesterday. You have him now with Grady Jarrett on that line. I think that's going to make a big difference. But with Montez, he was out there for some individual stuff. He didn't really participate in the team stuff at all. I didn't see him out there doing that. But I think, like you said, he was banged up a little bit last year. And, he said it's not going to be the first time he's injured. Won't be the last time he's injured. That's just kind of where you're at in your career. It's not if, but when you're going to get injured during a season. You're always going to play banged up. And, I saw the injury he had last year when I think he took a cleat to the shin. It did not look pretty in the locker room. You could kind of see it. So, yeah, I'm sure that did impact him a lot. And his production just wasn't what he wanted it to be. It wasn't what the Bears wanted it to be. And that's got to change. You're paying him a lot of money to go get the quarterback. You have to go get the quarterback. Now you bring in a guy like Dio who can help get the quarterback, and hopefully Austin Booker takes a step forward. at that outside linebacker position as well. You have, some opportunity to kind of move Gervon Dexter. You draft a Shamar Turner out of Texas A&M, who is, to me, he's been as advertised so far. I love the motor he plays with his game. You can kind of notice it right away out there, which is good. But, I like the pairing of Dennis Allen and what they built on this offensive line, because he wants high motor guys. He wants guys to play physical. He wants guys to play violent. I think they're going to get that with the talents they brought in.
And on the concept of the defensive line, I mean, this is going to be probably, I want to say, the best unit on the best individual positional group on defense in 2025. And it's not just because, of all the talent that they've added, but part of it is because, you're adding these guys that have been pretty solid over the last couple of years, like Montez Sweat and Gervon Dexter, but you've already got those guys. Then you're adding guys like Shamar Turner and Grady Jarrett, a couple of, super high energy guys. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and say this. I do believe that when it's all said and done, and I've said this on previous episodes of the show, that Shamar Turner has a legitimate chance to be the best rookie in 2025 from this class in terms of immediate impact player. But when we talk about what Dennis Allen is doing, what is so interesting to me as it relates to the 6 to 7 weeks that the Bears have sort of been together for a lot of the offseason workouts is the fact that Dennis Allen has come in and just been a complete culture changer for what this defense is essentially all about and what it's trying to do. And what's so interesting is the veterans in the room, like a Kevin Byard, like a TJ Edwards, like a Grady Jarrett, guys that were on other successful teams prior to coming to Chicago, they see it more than anyone in terms of who Dennis Allen is and how he operates. Like, it's Kevin Byard and it's Grady Jarrett getting up there and talking about how, man, DA is so detail-oriented. You love the energy he brings. He's coaching us hard. Tremaine Edmonds, coming over from the Bills a couple of years ago, kind of said the exact same thing. Whereas it's like, for a lot of the players that were already on the roster, such as a Gervon Dexter or a Jalen Johnson, even I would say Jaquan Brisker, like, we really haven't heard them praise Dennis Allen. And again, a lot of it is because it's like, not that they don't like him, but it's like they're still kind of getting used to who he is as a person, whereas some of these other vets like have already seen the impact that a high energy focused D coordinator can have on the defense.
And it's going to help, Ben Johnson too. I mean, he's got coaching. Dennis Allen has head coaching experience. He's got a lot of experience in the NFL, not only coaching the defense, but being a head coach, and kind of Ben Johnson feeding off that energy, his players feeding off that energy on the defensive side of the football. I think that the Dennis Allen hire is going to be very important, is going to pay off, for the Bears this year. I think their defense could take the next step. You never really panicked, I'd say, about Matty Eberflus's defenses, because I think even through all the turmoil and everything, and the losing seasons were going on, like, the defense was still, outside of a couple games, San Francisco, they were pretty much flat, but that wasn't Matty Eberflus. That was, under Thomas Brown. The defense has kind of played their role and just kind of waiting for the offense over the last couple of years. But, yeah, with Dennis Allen's energy, you can definitely feel it out there when you're watching him coach up his guys, and watching how the defense is now flying around, and Jaquan Brisker is back, and you can't miss him out there. He's still vocal, he's still loud, he's still moving around, so that's a big positive as well.
And again, talking about, as we start to sort of wrap up here, I got to ask you, man, I mean, I know that there's been 2 open sessions here for the media last week and then this week as well. Mandatory mini camps coming up. And then the Bears have like a third OTA session from June 9th to 11th for the rookies. But how has a guy like Jaquan Brisker looked so far? Because obviously, like, he's a player that we haven't heard from since the first week of October, dating back to the 2024 season. I mean, it was kind of this weird thing where it was like concussion, and then nobody saw him in the locker room after games for the longest of time. Then there was a point where the Bears placed him on injured reserve, and then to me it was super funky because I'm like, haven't seen him in the locker room at all. He isn't in street clothes, doesn't seem to really be attending practice, so there must be something bigger going on here. But here he is, it seems like, doing well and just ready to sort of get after it.
Yeah, no, I mean, he looks normal. He looks himself. He looks like the safety that was out there flying around and making plays. He had an interception yesterday on Caleb Williams. It was a tip pass that Tremaine Edmonds got his hand on. Edmonds also had an interception earlier, jumping in front of a pass. But yeah, no, Brisker looks the same pre-concussion. And it's interesting because we haven't been able to talk to Brisker yet. He's done a couple interviews, I think, not with non-local beat or anything with things like that. But it'll be interesting to hear what he has to say about all that went down last year, because you can kind of see his frustrations in his tweets if you follow him on Twitter. There was definitely some stuff behind the scenes that we weren't really seeing or even know about. So yeah, we'll see. It's a big year for him too. Due for a contract extension. What do the Bears want to do? Do they have to go out and get another safety after this year? But yeah, so far he's looked pretty much himself, pretty normal out there running the defense, starting alongside Kevin Byard when Byard's been out there. And Brisker's been fine. He's been his normal self.
I mean, I know that right now it is like, I love OTAs, but I'm also kind of just like, can't wait for training camp to hit, because training camp is really when, to me, in my opinion, a lot of the fun starts in terms of what to expect. I mean, the players too seemingly have this completely different vibe around them when it comes to training camp, because it usually signals preseason games are 3 weeks away, which again, the Bears-Bills game, I think it's their week 2 preseason game, is going to be live on national TV. So that'll be kind of fun. And the Bears are also playing the Dolphins at home, I think, on August 10th. So again, preseason's far away, but I'm sure it'll be here before any of us know it. Anyways, before we get out of here, Zach, any closing thoughts on what the Bears have done so far and what you've seen?
I would say going back to that training camp thing and tying into that, I think if anyone goes out there and they get tickets and they want to watch, one thing to kind of keep an eye on that I've been watching that's been really good is how these assistants coach their positions. You see the clips of Eric Bieniemy getting on Kyle Mongai. You saw Bieniemy last week. I watched the wide receivers with Antoine Randall coaching up guys. They're coaching up everyone from the starters to the backups to guys that are probably not going to be here for the regular season, that are fighting for a roster spot. They get on them. They give them tips when needed. It doesn't matter if you're DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, any of these guys. They're getting on them and they're making sure that everything's right. They're vocal, they're loud. And it's kind of refreshing to see. And in watching Ben Johnson, he's not just standing there watching the offense the entire time, individual drills. He's bouncing around. He's going to the defense, going to the tight ends, he's going to the safeties, the running backs. He's all over the place. I think that's key as well. But yeah, I would just kind of watch that. I have noticed that as a big change, just seeing, how good these assistant coaches are with all this experience. Al Harris, Antoine Randall, like I said, Eric Bieniemy, guys like that, coaching. And even you can keep an eye on Case Keenum, who is, I don't like using player coach, but, talking to Caleb Williams and helping Reed and helping Bagent. It's really been noticeable to me, and I think it's going to be noticeable to the fans that are out there during training camp as well.
So that's why this team is going to be so fun to watch throughout 2025. Before we get out of here, make sure you guys are following us on Twitter at Usayd Koshul, at Zack_Pearson, that's ZACK_Pearson, and at Halas Beat. Make sure that you are giving the podcast, if you are listening to the audio version, a 5-star rating and review. Like, subscribe, and comment to the video on YouTube. If there is something you want us to discuss in the comments specifically, be sure to kind of go ahead and put that in. Like I said, guys, Nick is out for some time. He got some really good news, but whenever he hops back on, I'll let him break that news to you guys. We're still going to be recording hopefully once or twice a week, just some things that we're working through right now. Just want to be fully transparent with all of you guys out there that do rely on this show to get you through your Wednesdays and sometimes your Friday mornings or even your Tuesday and Thursday nights. But we'll see you guys next time, ladies and gentlemen. Bear down and have a fun and safe Thursday going into Friday and an even better weekend.